what's the movie about? Can you tell us about the story? What are some of the main characters? And without giving away any spoilers, how's the plot work?
It's not our story. It was a story that was brought to us through Lost Week Productions and our executive producer, Anthony Hand. But it's a wonderful story about being young, finding yourself, finding just something you're passionate about, and finding the people that support you, finding your passion, your confidence, and being able to do amazing things with that.
We've really enjoyed seeing some scenes and hearing the stories about it as you worked on this production for 3 years, right? That's quite a commitment, really, in your life to do this project.
We started in 2021, like early 2021, and it's been a roller coaster. All productions are. You go through a giant emotional roller coaster. But yeah, I've been nothing but proud of our team, proud of us, and it's out. The movie is available, and I'm really happy with the reactions it's getting.
That's great. It's great to hear it. It's now out there in public. Fascinating for us. The storyline gave way to some fabulous characters and some amazing animated scenes. So with the permission of the directors, so the audience knows what we're talking about, we'd like to look at a trailer for the movie right now.
You are about to embark on a hero's journey. You will do something you never thought you could do. Destiny awaits, and you cannot escape it!
Very funny, Valentina. You can just say take out the trash next time.
Honey, in this house, we're all your friends. What's your name?
I'm Simon.
I'm Mama Moo Moo. This is my place. Every drag performer is unique.
Thank you, I love you boys.
The name's Dinah. Dinabolical. Cry, you miserable queens! Igor, showtime.
When you fall in love with you, your star begins to glow. And when you put the love to use, you become a shiro. When you fall in love with you, your star begins to glow. And when you put the love to use, you become a shiro.
Oh my God. Who are you?
The name's Maxxie LaWow.
Maxxie LaWow!
Girl, I'm a super queen.
So I think you might have embarked on a hero's journey because it says in your credits for the show that you're producer, head of story, storyboard director, animation director, and art director, which is a lot of positions. You're wearing a lot of hats with one head. So let's talk about the Maxxie LaWow project. 90 minutes of animated drag queen splendor, it says here. Can you tell us how the project came about? Because, you know, the story wasn't originally your story. So can you tell us about how you met the person with the story and how the sort of project began?
Right. It was the same friend that got us our first jobs up in San Francisco. He contacted us again. He was the original designer on that, and he invited us on. He was like, hey, I know you guys are really good animators, and I recommended you guys. So we got introduced to our executive producer, and he asked us to put together a budget for the film, and that's what we did.
So in building up to there, was your role at that time head of story?
So when we first got the movie, what had been done by then was that there was a script, and he had gotten voice track recordings for the entire movie. So he had already hired a casting director. That's what I would say. And he had all the voice acting, all that was done. So which was great for us. So at that point, what we started doing was we started looking at the script, and we really started picking out, like, okay, what are the locations? What are backgrounds going to be? Because animation is, you've got the animated characters, and then you've got the environment they're in. It's a full thing. And then you've got the audio that they're saying, and then sound effects and score. There's all these different pieces that go into a movie. And this is the same for live action. Live action is the same thing. It's just that they've got the luxury of being able, I can just film what's in front of me. So they have to build the sets, they put the actors in makeup. We have similar things, but now we're thinking of what's our background, what's our foreground. And we just started breaking it down piece by piece. And so at this point, I was doing a lot of pre-design work, like really just rough sketches. I think there's a location in the film. There's the Pink Unicorn Cafe. And that's a big location in the film because that's where Simon the barista works with his friend Jay. Right. And that's where he finds the wig, and it's in the alleyway behind the Pink Unicorn. So we needed an exterior of the Pink Unicorn, we needed an interior of the Pink Unicorn. This was a small potatoes production in the grand scheme of things. And so the way we were filming this is like we were trying to utilize as much background as we could so that we save money. That's how we're going to shave things down. We're going to have one giant background.
So we have you graciously have provided us some art from the show that we could take a look at. So here we go. So we've got, first of all, we've got some black and white outlines turned into color art. Do you want to?
So this is
a little bit about each slide?
Yeah. So this is a character. So there's a film within the film in this movie. There's a film within the film, and this is one of the characters. So this is a spoof on the movie Beaches, but this is the sketch on the left is one that I drew. So this was an initial concept of the character looked like, and the one on the right was was a splash art page that one of our animators did based on my sketch, because this was to use for some social media for promoting the film.
Fantastic. Okay, here's another character, similar kind of.
Oh yeah, so this is the legendary queen. She is a hoot in the movie. She's one of my favorite characters, and this is almost a 1-for-1 how the character looks in the film. A lot of the detail around like some of the sparkles and glitter are a little more cleaned up when we took it from this sketch to Adobe Animate, and it's more of Adobe Animate is a vector program, so some of like the small details got lost in it, but the character still came out looking fantastic, followed the model perfectly. But this was kind of the process. We started with a sketch, and then we found we wanted to get colors for the character, and then we have a finalized version.
Fantastic. Okay, next we have, I think, our main character.
This is Simon. This is the final animation rig that we created for Simon. So we wanted to make sure we had a full turnaround produced for the character. There's 8 different views of the character. We've got profile, front view, 3/4 side, 3/4 back view. And Simon, in animation, there's characters that are floppable because they look the same on both sides. Simon was not. He's got that little floof of hair that goes off to one side. So gosh darn it, we couldn't just flop Simon when we needed to. And plus he's got that logo when he's at the cafe, and that's always pointing one way. So we had to make sure that those are all details that you learn to have an eye for.
Wonderful. So you mentioned expressions. The next slide that we have is artwork for the many different moods for Simon. Can you tell us about how this is used?
And so inside of it, we have all these different expressions, and this was kind of like a sheet for the animators, for the storyboard artists to look at and be like, okay, how does Simon look when he's angry? How does Simon look when he's scared? How does Simon look when he's shocked? And this was all that was inside the model, but this was a nice just visual, so you don't have to go digging around. You can just be like, I'm looking for angry. That's how Simon's supposed to look when he's angry.
It must be key as collaborators to have something to hand off as a reference.
It mostly what we were trying to do was if we were handing you work, we were trying to give you as much resources as we could to make your job easier. So,
I mean, it seems like you organize it really well. This next slide is about the color systems for different characters, which I guess also has to be communicated. Would you like to tell us about this?
Yes. So these are the original designs that our friend Johnny did, and we based off these designs, we just went through and we got all the hex codes. So, and this was done just so that makes sure that every scene, all the colors are the same, and when we were designing the characters and building the character assets, these were all done so that once the rigs were finished, we could compare them to these ones, make sure like this is the right color, this is Jay's right color, this is the color for her dress. I'll make sure all the colors are correct. But also this is handy because then when we were sending off designs for backgrounds, we were able to set up a color scheme, but we had color combinations that we used because these are the characters that were going to be the foreground for the most time. So then when we did the backgrounds, we want to make sure the backgrounds are fun and colorful, but also the characters aren't getting lost in them. So then we could create color profiles for the background artists so that when they're painting their background, they know what colors to use and what color the characters are. So all that information then helps the artist that's working.
That's amazing. So much involved.
There's a lot of thinking. Yeah, there's so much more that's involved in it than you think.
Yeah, there is a lot. So upcoming, we have some slides that are sort of rough versions of scenes and kind of more rendered versions. And I think this maybe speaks to what you were talking about having to plan out the environments and making sure that every environment is working well.
Yes.
So
this was
Simon's bedroom, correct?
Yes, this was the initial sketch I did on Simon's bedroom. I think I did this on my iPad in a meeting, and we were just talking about, the discussion was, because we were talking about like, what would Simon's bedroom look like? What does he look like? So we're like, well, he's got to have posters. He'd have posters of pop stars. Because at this point, this is his room before he's become a drag queen. You know, he's out and gay, but like, what does his bedroom look like? So we want to like, okay, well, maybe have some stuffed animals. He's like all these different things. Like, what would his alarm clock look like? All these ideas. This was just a fun visual of like, okay, here's how we think the shot should look like, and kind of all put together. And yeah, this is what we started with.
And I'm going to go to the rendered scene now. I guess it's very important to have those details tell a story,
right?
As well as the character.
Yeah, and our one of our animation artists, she did this gorgeous, you know, brilliant background based off of that crummy sketch I sent. I don't know how she did it, but she took that messy sketch and then she did these gorgeous posters and really made this whole background felt like a room that someone actually lived in.
So you've got a certain number of backgrounds or settings that need to do a lot of work in the movie.
Oh yes.
This next one is you mentioned it before, is the club where a lot of the action takes place, I guess.
Yes, this was the pink unicorn. And yeah, another sketch that I did, and this was like, you can kind of see some of the theater kind of inspiration. I was trying to think of like, okay, how would someone take a ticket stand from a theater like marquee and turn it into a coffee shop? So I'm not an architect, but I had to kind of think like an architect, like how would this building actually look? And then try to set up inside a city. This is all based inside the fictional town of Tuckerton in Anywhere, USA. And just kind of like, okay, like what's Anywhere, USA look like? What's the, you know, maybe there's some mountains or some hills. All these things just like trying to like, okay, what is that going to look like? When you're working in an animation process, you're collaborating. You're going to collaborate with your director. So in this case, I was the art director. So Karen and we would go back and forth, and she'd have notes for me. But all that time, just like, I think this is going to work. Show it to someone, they'll say, like, that doesn't work. Okay, I go back and change it until eventually, like, hey, I think this works. Then you send it off to the next stage, which is then the artist. An artist who's better than me does a much better job of polishing it up.
Well, we'll go to the polished version just so the folks can see it.
Yeah, and that's, again, Lydia did an amazing job on this.
It's interesting that you need to have like enough confidence in your vision, but also courage enough to be collaborative and take advantage of the skills of somebody else, or empower them. Another way to put it is to kind of get them involved in making it better.
Again, I think what really helped was having, I've worked with artists in so many different ways.
I wonder if you could talk about, once all this character art and backgrounds are starting to be created, what role does the storyboard play?
So the storyboard artist is basically visualizing the script, and they're setting up like, okay, what are we looking at? Where are we going to see at this point in the story? And these were thumbnail sketches by our storyboard artist. This is the initial stage of any storyboard comic, whether live action or animated. It's just, okay, here's the shot, here's where the characters are going to be, and then here's the next shot. And she did an amazing job on these. And so what she would send me, I would send her the script. I would also send her the audio file so she could hear all the actors, how they were doing their performance, you know, so she could hear all the inflections and how the characters are going to act. And then she sent me these thumbnails, and so her work is all in purple, and then my notes are all in yellow. So in a lot of these cases, I said, okay, this is working great. Let's see. I think some of these notes are really hard to read, but I would go over them. I would do like a video call with her. I'll do these visual kind of storyboard note sessions with my classmates, because I feel like that's the best way to kind of get across that information. Like, hey, this is working, this isn't working, let's do this. And I can just draw it in front of them and just draw some quick little dashes, draw some quick little lines, and then she would come back with then a fully cleaned up storyboard that looked gorgeous and was exactly what I wanted to see.
And at that point in the production, the scenes are each individually being starting to be finalized along with a soundtrack that's already semi-final.
Yep, it's all these different points of light are now coming together slowly, and we're wrangling all the different processes. But at this point, yeah, like backgrounds were being painted, characters were being produced, and storyboards were being done. It's that spinning plate metaphor.
We have an awesome example that you created, Bill, to show how an animatic is starts to be turned into an animation. So if we'd like to look at this now, and then maybe have you discuss how it works.
B-G-B. Fabulousness is my destiny. Bye, girl, bye. This realness got me feeling so alive. Baby dishing out tea, but they can only rest on pretty. Unlike me, who owns everything. Bye, girl, bye. I'll say it one more time and I won't apologize. Bye, girl, bye. I'll be in here as strong while you just move along. B-G-B. You're killing this move ferociously. Bye.
That's a fantastic teaching example that starts off with still, and then key poses, and then it starts to become animated. Then you're also showing, I think, compositing and the things that happen in post-production. Can you talk us through how that's made?
So yeah, that's all the process right there. You start off with the storyboards, you go through animation, and yeah, and post production. That is a whole other world, right? Getting all edited together.
Yeah, and the template. So the template of the animatic sort of stays until it gets replaced by something that's polished.
Right. Yeah, that animatic. So funny enough, the final song numbers, we had most of the film animated at that point, but the way the production worked, we didn't have the song numbers in until like the very end. At this point in the film, we just had placeholders for the musical numbers. But because we didn't have final songs for them, we didn't want to storyboard anything unless we had the final song. So when the final songs finally got done and recorded, we sent them off to Taryn, and I worked on them. We got them storyboarded, and then it made the animator's job so much easier. And so we were able to get these, because we were down to a crunch at that point. We're like, we got to get these songs in because we need to have a version of the film done, because we had film festivals, we had all these things that were coming up.
So as head of story, did you have kind of final say on the scenes when you're saying there gets to a point where it's almost done but it's not quite done? Someone has to make the call.
I had final say on the storyboard scene. So as head of story, that was my job, was overseeing the visualization of the script. But as head of story, it was mostly just making sure that the story was being visualized properly, and that most of the time I would watch the boards and just kind of watch the animatic and be like, am I feeling what I want the audience to be feeling? Is this funny? Is this scene working? Does this hook up properly? Am I setting things up? That's how I saw my role as head of story. Was I'm directing the storyboard artists, because a lot of the way the shots were done, I wanted the board artist to handle, but then it was my job to make sure that where's the story going, what's going on in this part of the film, is that because the story's in 3 acts, and each act kind of ramps up what the insanity and also the fantasticalness of it all, and I wanted to make sure that that was happening, and so I was the one leading that.
How do you feel now that it's sort of in the can and you're looking to future projects? How do you reflect on the experience?
I still feel like I'm waking up. Like I still feel like I pinch myself. Like we went to a secret screening up in the Bay Area. It was Brave Film Festival, and they did a secret screening of the film. We were in an auditorium, gorgeous theater, and we watched the film. It was a pretty packed theater, and hearing people laugh, hearing people, you know, shout and be like, they just enjoyed it. They were laughing at the right time. They were like, they were loving the characters. You could tell, you could feel the energy off the audience, and that's still the best thing ever. It's so much fun watching other people watch the film and get that reaction. We won lots of laurels at some film festivals, and
fantastic.
I still feel like I can't believe that happened. I never saw this as a trajectory in my career.